You're listening to the Church of Honky Tonk podcast, where the invitation to worship is, would you like to dance? And every dance is a prayer. I'm your host, Diana, a social dance enthusiast discussing the divine intersection of live music, two-step, and an old wooden dance floor. Let's first talk about honky tonk as a place, a music, and a moment in time. Honky tonks are also known as roadhouses, juke joints, dive bars. Honky tonks first came out of Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. And the kind of music that they're playing at these dive bars are country music. I think it's important to understand the context of country music, what came before it, and how it evolved. Especially down south, we have a rich tradition of folk and gospel music, as well as blues music, and in the 1900s, with the addition of jazz music, we eventually get country music. Honky tonk music is a subgenre of country music. Modern honky tonk events, honky tonk bars, and dance events will often play songs spanning from the 1930s into the 1980s. We include notable songs of the defining musicians like Bob Wills, Hank Williams, Chet Atkins and Patsy Cline, George Jones, Waylon Jennings, and Merle Haggard, just to name a few. At honky tonk bars and honky tonk events, you will often see people dancing two-step. And just like it's important to understand the context of country music, let's understand the context of two-step dancing. Two-step dancing is a kind of social dance. Social dance is not intended for performance, but rather a social function or a gathering. Examples of social dances are Lindy Hop, swing dance, two-step, salsa, bachata, square dance, line dancing even. So when we talk about country dance, it's much more like the elementary school square dancing that you had to learn if you grew up in the United States. This music and dance often comes from the British Isles and other European countries and include social dance forms like contra, waltz, and what we know as square dancing. These country and folk dances have an important and distinctive element. They're all progressive. Progressive dances have a line of dance. This means that everyone on the dance floor is moving in a prescribed shape or line. In two-step, generally dancers move counterclockwise around the dance floor. And it's important to note also that not all of these social dances follow this counterclockwise flow, which is what I think makes two-step special. So at a honky tonk, you'll often see the two-step, and if you show up to a beginner lesson, you'll often hear the words quick, quick, slow, slow. And this is known as the Texas two-step. There is another form of two-step, Cajun, but for our intents and purposes, we're going to refer to the Texas two-step. This is a partner dance that moves in a progression counterclockwise around the floor, and it's influenced by these traditional dances, these traditional country dances. The tempo and styling of honky tonk music that I mentioned earlier from the 1930s and 80s just have a great fit with this style of dance. The dance is also influenced by ballroom foxtrot, and there's a really fun movie that put two-step in the limelight from the 1970s. John Travolta's Urban Cowboy really popularized the dance form. And one of the reasons that I love this dance so much is that in its simplest form, you are simply shuffling around the floor at an easy and relaxed pace. There is one more dance form which is often seen in conjunction with two-step, and it's known as country swing. It is also a social dance that's quite popular with the youth. There's a lot of viral TikTok dances right now of country swing. It has these dramatic dips and turns and tricks that's quite stylish. This dance has more roots in jive and in West Coast swing. This is not a progressive dance. It doesn't move counterclockwise around the dance floor. Instead, it's slotted. It relatively stays in one space or bubble on the dance floor. This is also a kind of dance style that is more common with modern country music. Now, what I have found is that it's tricky sometimes going into a new area to find two-step dancing. I learned that if you search on the internet country night dances, it didn't necessarily mean that two-step was practiced. It was more common to see country night dances more related to country swing. The two styles can be mixed and both practiced, but two-step does require this social understanding among its dancers to go around in this large circle. So we sometimes see some traffic jams on the dance floor because not everyone is moving in the same direction. If you're listening to the podcast today, I hope this inspires you to go out and find a dance near you. These are some search terms that I frequently use to find a dance near me. I look up Honky Tonk and two-step on Facebook. Meetup is my second choice. Facebook is the main place to find events near me. Instagram and TikTok are good for finding musicians and bands, as well as dancers that might inspire you. It's also important to look up bars in your area with live music, as well as your local musicians. Look for bands that include Western Swing, Honky Tonk, Nashville Sound, Countrypolitan, or Outlaw Country in their descriptors, as well as any of the musicians that I mentioned earlier in this podcast. And don't pass up your local folk dances. Folk dance, square dance, contra dance, they're all beginner-friendly. They don't require a partner, and in cities, they're often queer-friendly and may even have their own queer meetup group. Folk dances, in my experience, have also been more COVID-conscious, monitoring local area COVID stats and informing the community of COVID exposure. Thanks for listening to the Church of Honky Tonk podcast. And remember, it wasn't God who made honky tonk angels, but they do find heaven on the dance floor.